Dear friends, today is Monday, the sixth day of Av. I hope you're beginning a good new week. This is an important week in the Jewish calendar when we mark Tisha B'Av, the destruction of both temples, and we are now middle of our temple series as part of the inspiration series number 103. Now, on Tisha B'Av, we mourn the destruction of two temples, both temples that stood in Jerusalem. The one built by King Solomon that stood for 410 years, and the one built or finished by Zerubbabel, and Ezra played a big role in it, that stood for 420 years. What is the significance of two temples, and why is there going to be a third one that will not be destroyed ever? And there's a lot that has been written about this because it goes to the core of understanding of our relationship with God and how we bring heaven and earth together, spirituality and physicality together, a beautiful edifice, but which is housing incredible, intense holiness, and how they both merge together to create the sense of wholesomeness of what God represents. And the reason there were two temples is because there are two components in the marriage of heaven and earth, in the marriage of God and the Jewish people, and that is God and the Jewish people. God is perfection, is truth, is purity, is all of the positive things. God is the source of the world, not a part of the world, the source of the world, the source of all physical things, the source of all spiritual things. Then you have the human, ourselves. And though we have within ourselves a soul, but mostly we are a physical body. We can't go a day or two without eating or drinking or sleeping. Our bodily and physical needs are up front and center. And in the relationship between us and God, there is two approaches. One is that God embraces us, shows us the greatness of his spirituality, his infinite being, through miracles and other ways that he wows us to show where the truth lies and how he is the source of this world, the creator of this world. Or there is the human approach, ourselves, when we embrace God by struggling to find God within our lives, to find meaning and purpose within our daily challenges, and finding God, and how ultimately the only thing that makes sense in this world is that there is a God, just the same way that Abraham discovered God as well. And both of these are very important, but the question is, which one is the starter? Which is the first part of the relationship? Now, when God wows us, we have incredible insight and incredible ability to see something that's beyond nature, supernatural. But the caveat is that because it's God reaching out to us, we never hold on to it, we never grasp it, never becomes ours. We're a spectator in that sense. But when the relationship to God is initiated by us, though it doesn't have all the sparks and the great infinite realities, but because it's coming from us, it's real. It's something that we hold on to strong. It's something that remains eternal. That was the representation of the first and second temple. The first temple, with the glory of King Solomon, represented God's incredible openness to us, wowing us with all of the great miracles and supernatural things that were going on at that time. And the second temple was much more down to earth. It was built by people without the same grandiose ideas. It was missing many of the miracles that happened in the first temple. Actually, some pieces of furniture were missing. Represented the human gravitation towards God. And each one has a quality the other one doesn't have. And each one has a caveat that the other one doesn't have. And therefore, each one didn't last completely. They were both destroyed. The third temple represents when both come together. Not only just we see the God's infinite reality and miracles, but also it's connected to the efforts of the human being. We make it happen. So in the second temple, we didn't have any of the great infinite realities of God, and therefore it didn't last. We tried hard, but it was hard to hold on. The first temple, we had all the greatness of God's infinite miracles, but we didn't have much effort to put into it, and therefore it dissipated very quickly. The third temple will represent, after a long exile, that it's our initiation, but it takes a lot more effort to try to find God when we're in a dark exile, when God is more hidden. Then we have the temple where we try, but we don't have to try that hard. And when our efforts are doubled, the reward comes that God finally shows himself in a true way to us in his infinite reality, but because it comes as a response to our efforts, it remains eternal and forever. And so too it is in our lives. In our day, we have moments when we're inspired from external events, ideas, whether it's a holiday, whether it's an occasion that's going on, whether it's whatever it may be, but it's external from us. And sometimes we ourselves gravitate towards meaning and purpose. And each one of them is important. And each one of them must be paid attention to. But the ultimate that will make things last is when it comes from us. And the harder we work at it, the greater level of connection to God that we achieve, the third temple. And that's what our focus has to be while we are mourning the temples, is how we are just at the precipice of getting the greatest revelation that humanity ever felt in this world, greater even than God giving the Torah. Because when God gave the Torah, it wasn't internalized, but now it will be internalized. It will be real. Every human being, every creature will recognize, just as in the beginning of the world and even greater, the truth of God, the reality of God. May it happen quickly in our days. So when it's dark, like sometimes during this quarantine, when things look dark, that's when we can accomplish the greatest things. That's when we can uncover through our efforts the greatest light at the other side. Let's make it happen. Have a great day.